Hello, and I think we're live. Let's see. I'm not really sure. Hopefully this works. All right, today we are going to be talking about how to mix drums. Let's see, let's double check if we're actually live. Let me see. Yes, I think it's working. Wow, the internet is a crazy place. And we're all spending way more time here lately. All right, I'm here live from Fundamental Sound Co. in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And I play drums, and I love mixing and recording drums. Just about every single day, I wake up and I record drums. I have hard drives just full of drum tracks. Some of them are mixed, some of them aren't. If they end up getting mixed, that means that they're good, and they might be used for something in the future. And I, a lot of times, start with a drum track, and then, layer percussion, layer synths and other sounds over top of it, and just have fun with it. Because it's being a drummer, usually that's the first thing that's recorded is the drums. So if you have a good drum track, usually you can start layering other stuff, and it's going to be a good track, hopefully, from there. If you have a bad drum track, the whole rest of the track is going to be kind of weird. It's going to be harder to layer more stuff on top of a weird drum track. So today we're going to break down what I do to make drums sound good coming through speakers. So go ahead, sit yourself down, get some headphones, get some good computer speakers, get some monitor speakers, something like that. And yeah, hopefully you can learn something, and hopefully you take something away from this. If not, then just, I don't know. This is how I do it, so I'm just going to share some tips and tricks and some secrets that I've picked up over the years from doing this. I was thinking the other day, it's been a solid 8, almost 10 years of trying to get this. It's hard, there's so many different microphones. Here we have, let's see, 12 different microphones. So getting those all to work together and sound good as one. That's the goal. And then, you can put stuff around it, or you can just have, just the drum sound, whatever. So here we have Logic. So all the Logic users out there, what up? I know Logic 10.5 just came out the other day, which is super exciting for all the Logic users. There's way more things. They just adapted all the things that Ableton does into Logic. So if you're looking for a DAW, I'm going to suggest Logic being the best, because it does pretty much everything you need it to do. It does the tracking, it does the electronic music stuff. You can do a lot more stuff with loops and remixes now, more than ever because of 10.5. So yeah, let's get straight into it. I'm just going to play this track. I recorded this last night, and let's see what it sounds like. Okay, so it's kind of like a go-go beat kind of thing. So this is, as you can see my mouse on the screen. There's no compression happening. Obviously this is recorded through the board, so there's some EQ in the board. No compression in the board at all. This is the more heavy part with the ride cymbal coming in. Just simple kind of stuff, just to show you guys some stuff. Okay. Okay. So get used to hearing that. We're going to hear that like 100 times the next hour. We're just going to play it over and over again and loop it at some point. So what I usually do is just kind of listen to everything as a whole, like we just did. And now we're just going to start blending and balancing things volume-wise and just trying to get like a good feel. Obviously like a funk backbeat kind of thing. So you want to have like a lot of kick and a lot of snare up front. And then we're going to balance all the other stuff in, the hi-hats and the cymbals and all that. So let's go ahead. We're just going to get started here and get our hands dirty. We start with turning the kicks up a little bit. Those out front. Turn up overheads a little bit, get more action there. And these are just kind of like room mics. We're gonna fade those in so they're more in the mix. We'll get to those later. This is the knee mic, which is in the center of the kit. That's fine for right now. Cool. There's no EQ. You see here, there's no EQ, no compression yet on these. So first, let's start with the overheads. We're just gonna loop this. Let's just get a loop. Those are looping on the toms right now. We'll get to those later. Just gonna loop this whole track. There we go. Here's the overheads. Already off the bat, I'm hearing like a lot of low end that doesn't necessarily need to be coming through. And you can see it here in the EQ. Usually I just take off all the lows. You don't need all that coming through the overheads. Somewhere around there, 64-ish. And then all this in here, which you can't even see coming through. We're gonna take some of this up and listen to it and see. So all the low mids, we don't want that. All that, it sounds cool, but we don't need that in the overheads. Already by cutting that, you can hear. We're just gonna go through and listen. Take out some of the stuff that's obviously sticking out that we don't need. Before we get too far, I'm getting ahead of myself here already. We're gonna add some compression. Oh, I turned it down. So this is my favorite compressor, the 1176. It's the Waves remake or whatever. You can see this is how much compression we're adding right here. There's like half a dB, 1 dB. That's like a lot. You see this red light comes on. Usually for something like overheads, you don't want to do too much. You want to squash them. So you want to take probably 1 to 2 dB of compression. So you want to compress everything before you start doing EQ, because obviously as you can see it sounds a little bit different. So we're going to take the compression on the left side and add it, same thing to the right side so it's balanced. Now this made it louder, right? So we're going to take these back down to like 0 and then continue doing EQ. Another thing is this has a little bit faster attack. This one's set at 420 because that's how I usually set it. Ends up sounding good that way. Let's see. The other side is the same. So usually with the overheads, you can even take the release down a little bit. But for this, we'll leave it how it is. Alright, back to EQ. You want to usually compress things before you EQ, because then your EQing the compressed sound, because the compression is going to take a lot of that weirdness away. This is usually a frequency band I tend to go to. You can hear just like not a pleasant sound. Like 1440-ish is usually taken right out. And we're going to copy and paste this over to the right side. Cool, it's a little bit better already. Usually start with the overheads. A little loud, we'll take it down to like here. And we add kick inside, which is a Shure Beta 91A, which is inside of the bass drum. Let's turn the compressor on. You can see right here, we're going to start adding some compression. It's going to take that. That gives it that nice like attack and like modern sounding kick sound. Nice, that's pretty good for now. Let's solo this completely so you guys can hear that. Okay, I'm already hearing like a lot of low mids, and usually we'll roll the bass off around, say, 44, 47, something like that. You know, you want to have a lot of bass, but you don't want to have all that sub frequency action happening. And this is what you do, is kind of listen. It's not a good sound. Let's take it out. With EQ, don't ever add any EQ to anything. Just take its stuff out. Subtractive EQ only. Especially with drums, you don't want to add anything. In the long run, it's going to come back and be really hard to get in the mix. Something like that. Usually 184 is just like up in that range. 174 to 184 to 200. It's just like, it muds up a kick drum. So you take a lot of stuff out. Another frequency I just don't like in drums is 350. Take it out. You hear that? It just, those are unnecessary mids. We don't need those. We can be pretty, subtractive with it too. We can take all this stuff out. Another frequency in a kick drum, which you normally wouldn't think about, is like 660, 650. Take all that out. It's gonna sound way more punchy. Okay, that's pretty good for now. Take this a little bit lower. Cool. You see the fundamental frequency here is around like 60, 66, 65. It's pretty good. Usual for a kick drum. We'll go to kick out. You can hear them working together and by itself. We're going to turn the compressor on. It's not doing anything right now. You see I have the 1176 on every single channel because I love this compressor. I think it does amazing things. And it's transparent. That's what's cool. So this one we're going to push a little harder because it's kind of like the fat kick mic. The inside's kind of like the attack. This is kind of like the booty shaker right here. So like usually 3 to 5 dB. But for this, we're going to push it a little bit harder just for the fun of it. And then the same thing, we're going to EQ after we compress. You see a lot more low end happening on this one. We don't need all that. This one will be a little bit lower than the other one. Say maybe 40-ish hertz. That just takes all that low end rumble out. You don't need that. You can hear. You don't need that. Take it out. Already so much cleaner. With this mic, there's going to be a lot of low mids because it's on the front head. So let's see. Again, in the area of like 350, 380. taking it out. Always problematic with pretty much any drum I found. Again, like 660-ish. You can take that out too. And you can always do another EQ in Logic. Is just add another one, do lots of surgical EQ rather than trying to get it all in one swoop. So you can hear up in this area, we're going to take that 160 out. Do lots of surgical EQ rather than, 2 or 3 big EQs like this. Let's see, I heard something in here too. You can have all the gear in the world, but use your ears. Your ears are the best gear you can possibly have. It's like this 250 is making it sound kind of clunky. It's kind of just ringing out. So we're going to take that out. Yeah, listen and find the frequency you want to take and just take it right out. Sometimes you have to scan and search for it, but some of that, we'll just take a little bit of that out. Cool. We hear the kicks together. And obviously the biggest thing with kick drum is making sure that it's in phase. They're both in phase with each other, and they're in phase with the rest of the kit. And you'll be able to tell because, let's see, we'll leave these on. I'll just pull up a plugin that has a phase button on there that we can take in and out. See, it just dies. All the resonance is gone. We hit the phase. That's how you know you're in phase, when it's booming again. I've also seen like some producers take like a speaker and flip it upside down and then put a coin on it, and when the coin comes up out of the speaker, that's how you know you're in phase, because the speakers are coming out. That's what you want to do with the bass drum, is coming out rather than sucking in. That's not natural. So yeah, so now we're going to move on. We're going to start listening to the snare. Listen to it with the other stuff first. Kind of see where we're at. Okay. Cool. Now by itself. Now with the snare, we're just going to take... Oop, I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Let's do the compression first. Turn it on. Bring it up. This snare is already kind of like tight and poppy, so we don't really need that much compression happening. You can see just a little bit. I mean, this is already in the red. Keep it under control there. That's cool for now. Now with the EQ, we're gonna just roll really a lot of these lows out, more than you would think. Because you can hear you're getting some bass drum in there, some toms in there and stuff. We don't necessarily want that, we just want the top snappy part of the snare. Let's see, some of these low mids are kind of too much. So we're going to take and just listen and find 176. We don't want that. Get out of here. Don't add anything. Don't add any EQ. Just take all the EQ away. Subtractive EQ only. Again, like 350-ish area is kind of weird. We're going to take that out. You can take 350 out of every drum, and that'd probably be a good thing. And that's the weird sound we're hearing for the most part. Like all that can come out. Boom. It's way cleaner right there. Oof. A lot of that too. 800-ish. I mean, every snare is going to be different. Every drum is different, which is fun. So it's like always a different experience trying to get a snare to sound right. Now, before we get too far, I want to point out that all these buses are pretty much ready to go. So we have in each bus is like things that I usually use to reinforce the snare sound, a kick drum sound, or a tom sound, or whatever. So what I usually do is bus 4, you can quickly just go like this, add a bus, blah, 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 snare, bus, which is supposed to be snare bus. You add that, which is right now is a neutron thing, isotope neutron. Let's see, it's some kind of snare chain we have going here. Wonderful. It has a little bit of a tape thing, a transient shaper, all these things kind of. This is kind of like a preset within Neutron, which is a cool little thing to check out. This is like a snare presence bus. So as I'm bringing that up, I'm hearing the hi-hat come up, which is not cool. What are you doing in there, hi-hat? Just listen to it. Usually around 5K is where you find the hi-hat. So we're going to take that out of the snare because we have a hi-hat mic. And we're going to use that. Round this snare a little bit more. Another frequency that I don't like is 2750 to 28K. It's just not cool. And cymbals, like it's just too much sizzle on top. So again, like 1440, like we took out of the overheads. We're gonna take some of that out. Cool. Take this down a little bit. And then bus 7. That's like a EQ, just kind of a warm EQ. Here's where we're gonna add stuff is in the buses because we can add all that and then we can have complete control of how much of that is in there. So we're just gonna add a little bit of warmth, a little bit of mids and low end, and then that'll be it for right now. We'll get to the rest of that later. I'm gonna go back to the kicks, the overheads. See how these are all working together. Okay. All right. Okay. We got something going here. Cool. All right. And that mic on the top of the snare. Let's see if we can just solo that. Is a Beyerdynamic Snare. It's like a little tiny condenser mic that clips onto the rim of the snare drum. Usually you only hear of like a 57 on the snare, which is cool, but this kind of sets it apart, and it's a different sound, a little snappier sound, which is good for like a funk thing. Yeah. Moving on, let's go to the bottom. Hear how that just sounds by itself. Another thing you want to have in phase is the bottom, or out of phase rather. You want to flip the polarity on this channel when you're. I already did that within the board that I record with. The thing you want to make sure is in phase because you have a mic on top pointing at the mic on the bottom. So you want to flip the polarity so they're both punching out of the speakers rather than sucking in, which is unnatural. You don't want that. Drum, you hit it one way, and that's the way it works. You don't want to have an unnatural sound. Anyway, I could talk about that all day. Let's see. We'll add some compression. We'll turn it up. Same thing with the top. We'll just get it like kind of working a little bit, maybe like 1 dB. Another 1176 because I just love these compressors. These will be on everything. Every channel I ever work with will have 1176 on it, and then we'll go from there because it's transparent and it's easy to work with, and I love it. Cool. Usually turn the snare bottom down just a bit, maybe like 5 dB, like. We'll hear the full snares. There's still like a lot of hi-hat coming in. We're just going to take all that out. you can hear it. That helps. Cool. We'll bring the overheads in. We'll constantly be checking what the whole thing sounds like together as one thing, because that's the goal, is making it sound like one instrument, not like, oh, the kick drum sounds great with the snare. No. This a little high still. Have it compress a little bit less. Cool. And we'll see what it sounds like on its own. Kind of do an EQ. The snare bottom, you want to take a lot of those lows out because it's right next to the bass drum. So a lot of those lows and low mids are getting in there. Again, the usual suspect, 350-ish. Get out of here. We don't want you around. And even 660 or 580 for the bottom of the snare is the usual frequency you don't want to have in there. Let's see. It may sound good like this on its own, but if you have too much of these low mids in there, it's just going to sound clunky by the end of it. So we're going to add the knee mic and all these other mics, and a lot of this stuff is in the overheads too, so you might got to think you don't want to have too much masking. Again, 440 is another usual suspect that shows up, or that general area. Cool, that's already sounding better. We will try it. Yeah, we'll take like this out instead. You can cut a lot of the stuff on the bottom of the snare because it's just like, it's just there for that snap. Really, a lot of the presence is coming from the snare top. So cool. Now already we have a lot of the components in play. We have the overheads that are sitting good, both kicks, snare top and bottom, and then you're gonna get most of your drum sound with those things. So let's see how those are all working together. Okay. We're off to a pretty good start here. Now we're going to add some buses. As these are just plain, we're going to add the kick bus. So all those lows and stuff we took out, we're just going to add a little bit more back in with this bus. And then the kick out bus. At like, I don't know, 20-30%. Just so we have complete control over how much stuff we're putting back in there. And these other buses we'll get to later. It's just like a complete drum bus. Yeah, and then we'll add the snare bottom bus, add a little snap there. Cool. And the overhead buses we didn't mess with before, we're going to add those in. The overhead bus right now is an API thing I'm working with. I love API so much on drums because it just adds that punch and that character. You hear it. You hear when I fade those in, it just gets way more controlled, but way more punchier at the same time. So like usually the bus is like really slamming things, you can see. Then we add like 50% of that in there. We have complete control over what we're doing in the bus. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, just write a comment. I'm looking, let me see what you guys are saying. Zach wants some 28K. Well, you're not going to be able to hear it unless you're a cat. So, what's up, Rob Wallace? I see you. So even take some of this compression out, because we're really slamming this API bus compressor here. Overheads are a little bit loud. gain staging, y'all. All about gain staging. So these kicks, it's like there's a little bit of room for them to breathe, so you have those dynamics. You know, it's like you want to keep that within everything. If you can see my mouse, I'm sorry if it's really small. So you want to keep that little bit of headroom, and it's gonna be your friend when it comes to the mastering process too. You don't want to distort everything. Okay. Now, let's add in the hi-hats. The hi-hats are going to kind of work with the overheads in a way. Let's just hear what it sounds like by itself. This is a SM7B, which is my favorite hi-hat mic to use at this point. To have that big hi-hat sound. Let's see, add this compression in. You want to compress the hats a good amount. You see we have a good amount of attack here. Let's turn it to 420 just for fun. The overhead's preset because it's basically an overhead, but it's zoomed in on the hi-hat. And typically, you know, you can have a faster release for that short little sound, and you can take these down a little bit. And you always want to mix drums from the pilot seat, okay? As if you're the drummer, which I am on this track. So it's easy. But you want to, like, the hi-hat's usually to the left a little bit. Boom. So you take it a little bit to the left. And then let's see how that sounds all together. Well, hold on. Let's see what it sounds like with the overheads. Kick out, kick in, snare top. All the stuff we've gone through already. Let's see where we're at. All right. Pretty cool. Now, EQ. You can really take a lot of these lows and mids and all that out of the hi-hat, so it's just the high frequencies. Like I said, it's SM7B, which is like an amazing vocal mic. I mean, it's a mic for anything, but it picks up a lot of stuff. So like a lot of these mids, you can listen and find the worst sound you can possibly find within the EQ. Take it out. Like I said, don't add any EQ ever. Just take out all the bad stuff and let the good stuff shine through. So this mic, I know this mic, and usually around like 750, 730, whatever, it's a lot of that rings out in this mic. It's usually just with any source, especially with hi-hats, you can take that out. This is right next to the ride cymbal because I play open-handed. My ride cymbal's on the left side. So I know that. So now for the ride, when the ride comes in, again, we're going to take like 1440 right out of there. We don't need that. And usually for like a hi-hat thing, we're going to add another EQ just because there's a lot of nasty frequencies ringing out in there. Another frequency that sucks is 2800. You can hear, as soon as we took that out, it sounds way more clean and professional and polished. And yeah, like a lot of the information with the hi-hats is coming in around 5K. So you want to leave a lot of that, but like, that's just not a great sound up there. Around 7-ish K. You can take that out and have smooth them out a little bit. And then we're going to take more of these low mids out. I just don't like how much snare and all the stuff is ringing in there. Cool. And we can just to make sure, we're going to roll a lot of this stuff out. And then usually around like 1K, you hear that's just whistling. You hear that weird frequency just ringing out. We're going to take that out. So we just have to... That's what you want out of the hi-hat mic, not so much of the things ringing out. What's up, Jason? I see you. What's up, Kassan? I see you out there. I think my mom was watching. What's up? My sister, hey, hey. All right, so now, as far as the bus goes, we're gonna add bus 6, which is already ready to go, which is like some hi-hat processing in Neutron. Isotope Neutron, yo, it's really cool. They have a lot of really cool stuff happening, and you can just kind of add, they have a compressor, equalizer, exciter, transient shaper, and you can just kind of add stuff within here. I mean, you can just add this to the channel strip too. It's either way. But this is just going to add a little bit of high-end like tightness. Not too much, just maybe like 10-15% of that. It's in the bus, so we have complete control over that. And then even take it a step further and EQ the bus. So you're EQing the stuff that you're putting in there, which is really cool. And that's if you have extreme OCD, which I do. So, you know, when it comes to sounds like this, sometimes you can take it a step further. Cool. Cool. So let's hear what it sounds like. Again, we're going to see what it sounds like all together, see where we're at. Cool. Pick drum's a little much. Dial it back a little bit. Here we go. Add a little bit more of that snare bottom in there. Again, like the snare bottom, there is no like dynamics with the snare bottom. It's just like either going or it's not. So you want that just to be there. And the rack tom and the floor tom are muted for now, and we'll get to those later. Right now, let's go to the knee mic, y'all. Oh yeah, the knee mic is literally the secret weapon. You guys have no idea. So if you're gonna mic the kit, you only have one mic. That's all you have. You have to stick it on the knee mic. Is probably the best option. So let's see what we got. You see, that's where a lot of the punch is at, because it's central to the kit. And I'll pull up a picture of the knee mic. Let's see. Just so you guys know what I'm talking about. There it is. So I have a SM7B positioned pretty close to the bass drum and the floor tom to get that low end. So you're getting like the sound of the beater of the bass drum, and it's pointed right at the snare drum. So you're getting like the side of the shell of the snare drum. So with the top and the bottom, now you have the side mic'd. You're getting a complete sound of the bass drum. Not the bass drum, the snare drum, and the bass drum's in there too. And then when you hit the toms, those are also coming through a lot as well. And then you try to avoid getting, you can see the cymbal is like right there. I have a lot of EQ on the board that I record with. So it's taking a lot of those highs out already, just so I don't have to hear that when I record. But let's see what happens when we add some compression to this mic. It says piano right now, but don't worry about that. It's not. It's just a preset thing. Okay, so we're gonna slam this. This is gonna be like 4 or 5 dB worth of compression happening. Let's turn it down after we do that. You can hear it kind of evens a lot of those frequencies out when you compress. Add some attack too. Probably at like 12 o'clock there. I'll take and the release, make it a little bit faster. If you have a quick attack and a quick release, that's how you get that punch. That's where all the punch lives. right there. So that's a pretty good start. And you can see in the EQ, there's a lot of low end happening, which is good. But we're going to scroll a lot of that out, because the bass drum's already doing that. You can't hear the bass drum right now, but it's... So a lot of these low mids, we don't want that. So for this mic, we're going to carve all those low mids out. Like all that too, like just cool, but we don't need it. So like usually 176, 186, all that stuff doesn't sound great. That's cool, but we don't. It's unnecessary because we already have those frequencies happening within the kick drum mic and the kick in and the kick out. So again, we're gonna 350 again. Like, get out of here. I first learned about 350 being just a bad frequency in drums from Warren Hewitt. He does a lot of tutorial stuff, and I've learned a ton. 750 again, because it's just this mic. I know that this mic's always going to have a bunch of 750 happening. And even cut more. With this mic, we're going to add another EQ and take some more stuff out. With EQ, like, you don't want these frequencies in there, but you don't want to take too much out either, because then it'll sound super hollow. So this is just kind of harsh to the ear. We're going to take some of that stuff out. And then more of these low mids, because they're still pretty ringing out. And that's going to be muddying up the mix later when we come to mastering. And that stuff too, like, get out of here. We don't want that. 230-ish. Okay, it's sounding pretty tight. You want this one to be kind of tight and punchy. Cool. Now, I see Jared's watching. What's up, dude? Now it's time to bring in Jared's favorite compressor. It's the Wolf compressor. As Jared has said many times, just put it on everything. And yeah, usually it finds its way into just about every single recording. Here it is. Da-da-da-da. Now, for the knee mic, the Wolf compressor and the knee mic are like basically best friends, okay? So here it is. And then we're going to introduce the Wolf compressor. Here we go. Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. Now, you're probably like, whoa, where's all that weird sound coming from? So the Wolf compressor has this wow effect, which is really cool. I end up using that a lot, but right now it's only at 2%. It's usually like 2 to like 7% is where I usually have it sitting, or leave it at 3 right now. Take some of this lo-fi down, and I'll solo just the Wolf compressor so you guys can hear it. It's like that's doing most of the work is the Wolf compressor. You can see. It's a really